The TOEFL Essential exam is becoming one of the best exams for English proficiency. Many universities across the world are accepting it, and a lot of institutions require it for job applications, immigration, etc. Today, we will look at just the listening section, all 4 parts of the listening section, so that you know what to expect, tips that will help you to improve your score and get ready for the exam, and feel comfortable once you enter it. I'm Scott from HZAD Education, so let's begin by taking a look at part number 1. Now, the TOEFL Essentials test is designed to be slightly more simple for general English and academic English. You're going to see several parts. There's 4 parts included, which 2 of them are general listening activities and 2 of them are academic listening activities. So we have the listen and reply, listen to a conversation, that's general English, and academic listening to an announcement and the listening to a talk. So you get a nice variety of both questions. This exam can be taken online at home. It's about 90 minutes and it's more affordable than the other English exams on the market today. In total, you'll have between 30 and 45 questions, so slightly less than the other TOEFL test. Between 21 and 34 minutes, and remember, this is an adaptive exam, so the questions that you get right or wrong will determine the next questions that you have. And keep in mind that there's also going to be 4 different accents presented, or a variety of those. That's the North American, UK, Australian, and New Zealand accents. So when you are practicing for the exam, I do recommend that you practice with a variety of different accents by listening to things online, podcasts, radio shows. Be familiar with all 4 accents. Now, the very first section is listen and reply. These are short questions, but you must be able to listen to the pattern of the question. It's either going to be a statement or a question, and then you reply to it. Now, they look very simple, and they have kind of these like simple graphics as well. You're going to listen, and sometimes you will have to infer the answer. They are short. They're about 5 to 15 seconds long, and you will simply reply kind of like you're having a mini dialogue or a mini conversation with the person. The key here is to understand the context and the social appropriateness of the question or the statement. Sometimes it will be more of a colloquial or modern day slang, or some idiom phrases will be introduced. What I mean by inferring the answer is that you might have to guess based on what the speaker says. If the speaker says something like, "I'd better set an alarm," we can infer that they often sleep in or they don't want to be late. In order to practice this kind of question, you'll want to listen to a lot of short dialogues online, quick conversations. Any type of English online test, especially for TOEFL, will be an asset to this. Let's take a look at one example.
How long does the movie last?
And I hope that you chose the answer C, just under 2 hours. That makes the most sense based on the dialogue. Next, you'll hear a conversation which is about 30 to 45 seconds on long. You'll have 14 of these questions, or approximate 14 questions, based on the students that have taken the test. Sometimes there's slightly more or slightly less. Remember, it's an adaptive exam, so the questions will differ slightly. You get 2 questions per audio, so listen carefully because there will be a follow-up question. The type of topics range from dining to housing, hobbies, and even traveling. You should be able to listen to a variety of these conversations, but again, they're quite general. These are part of the conversational English, general English, so they're not so difficult. But it is a brief conversation. It will look something like this. Some questions will ask you, what does the woman imply? Or what does the man imply? Again, we have to use our best inference to guess what are they meaning based on the context of the conversation. You're not being tested on background information about the topic, but your ability, rather, to make inference or understand social cues in a conversation. So here, when the woman is saying, "I just moved in a couple of weeks before you did," she is implying that she doesn't know many people in the neighborhood. We listened to the conversation before. They were talking about having a barbecue, and she didn't know many people because she just moved in. Let's listen to this example. Remember, we have 2 questions that follow.
Did you finish the report for the meeting?
Not yet. I'll complete it tonight. The graphs took longer than I expected.
All right, just send it before tomorrow morning.
All right, now for the first question, if you said B, that is correct. Complete the report before tomorrow morning. Let's take a look at the second question. What is the woman planning to do tonight? She will be finishing the report. So that's a good example of a question that you will hear for listening to a conversation. Again, they're short, they're about 30 seconds. If you have conversations in English daily, then I expect that these questions won't be too challenging for you. If not, I recommend watching short clips from TV shows or videos where people are having a dialogue back and forth. Pause the video frequently to make a guess at what they will say next or to understand what question is being asked. Next, we get into the academic listening. The first one is an announcement, and it's about 35 to 45 seconds. They are more dense with information because it is an academic listening. It's something that you might hear on a loudspeaker at a public event or at a school. It doesn't have to be just academics. Sometimes it's also related to like events or rules or schedules. You might hear a train schedule, for example. 2 questions will follow after each audio, so listen carefully and don't forget the details of the audio. If you are a person that likes making notes, keep in mind they should be brief notes. Don't waste time trying to write full sentences. In our experience, it just distracts your listening ear because you're focusing too much on writing. So the academic announcement will look something like this. What will the listeners likely do next? Most likely do next. So again, we're having to listen to the announcements and make a guess based on the context of the audio, what they're going to do next. Now, I will say that occasionally you will hear some trigger points or some transitional words that will help you to know important information. For example, in the beginning, they might say like, attention students, attention passengers. That's how we know who it's directed to. Due to the something, or they might have like the main message. This is where we're listening for big pieces of information. And then at the end, they might have some type of call to action where they say, students, remember to submit, blah, blah, blah. These kind of transitional phrases you should be listening for because they help us to identify key pieces of information. Likewise, dates, numbers, things like that you'll want to be listening for. All right, let's take a look at this example. Listen to the announcement. 2 questions will follow.
Attention passengers. The 4:15 train to Central Station is delayed due to minor technical issues that were completely unforeseen. The new departure time will be 4:40, and to compensate for the delay, we are arranging some refreshments at the kiosk and complimentary headphones in the train itself. All passengers should remain on platform 3 and listen for further announcements. We once again apologize for the inconvenience and appreciate your patience.
Now that we're done the audio, you should be answering B for the first question, technical issues. It said it very briefly, but it was very obvious that they said due to technical issues, the train will be delayed. And then let's take a look at the next question. Where are the refreshments available? At the kiosk. So they will be available at the kiosk. If you like, rewind the video, watch that again, because this is exactly an audio that you might hear on the TOEFL Essentials exam. All right, are you ready for the last one? The listening to an academic talk. This is the longest of all of the listening sections. They are about 90 seconds long, and then you'll have 4 questions after each clip. So yes, it is longer, but it's not as long as the other TOEFL exam listening sections. So still, 90 seconds is very doable. Here, we're going to be paying attention to all pieces of information. This part of the exam tests your ability to listen to academic organized speeches. So they are set in like some type of lecture hall or a teacher or someone in a professional setting that is giving a brief lecture. Again, the topics, you don't need to have background information. They will give all of the information available in the audio. So even if you're not familiar with things like science or biology talks, or maybe something on technology or innovation, don't worry, all of that information will be present in the audio. Something that we do want to keep an eye out for is that the questions will ask, like, what is the main detail, what supports the point, or what would the speaker do next? We always see these types of questions, and remember, we have 4 questions. So you could make an assumption that you'll get one of these, probably 2, if not more, of these questions. Let's listen to the beginning of this clip. It's only the first 30 seconds of the 90-minute clip, and then answer the question below.
Welcome back to Tech Today, where we explore the forces shaping modern communication. In this episode, we'll take a closer look at telecommunications, one of the most significant industries driving global connectivity. At its core, telecommunications refers to the transmission of information over long distances. While we immediately think of cell phones and the internet, the concept dates back to much older systems, like the telegraph in the 19th century.
Okay, now if you answered telegraph, that is correct. It is one of the earliest forms of telecommunication, and then it would go on to ask 3 more questions for this audio. So in total, for the TOEFL Essentials Listening section, it is an adaptive test. The entire test is adaptive. That means early on, if you answer correct or incorrect, the test will be changing. You have multiple accents. You want to be practicing for inference questions because that will be present in all 4 types. And you want to recognize different types of attitudes or tones because that helps with inference. So I hope you found this information helpful and you feel more confident going into the TOEFL Essential exam. If you're getting ready to take the TOEFL Essential exam, comment down below which section you find the hardest, because we're uploading videos every week to help you master each section for the reading, writing, speaking, and listening, as well as general tips to help you master the test overall. If you found this information helpful, do give us a like and subscribe. It just really helps the channel and we appreciate it. I'm Scott from HZAD Education. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.